Welcome to the ultimate guide for Theia in 2024, and unfortunately she hasn't got the love and grace as some of the other heroes in the game with that beautiful introduction when you unlock her. But today we're going to be going over her skills, parents, talent trees, pets, and artifacts. So if you're looking to use Theia in 2024 with either flying celestials, flying archers, or flying cavalry, I have you covered. So let's get into today's video. Hello everyone, yes, smash a like, comment, and subscribe for more daily videos. And as you guys should know, you voted for Theia, right? Theia was the winner of the community vote, and if you guys want to vote for your next guide, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and check out the community section. When they get updated, you will get a notification, and just post your vote to see who is going to be next on the channel, right? So today obviously we're going to be going over the Theia. We've got the skills and everything lined up, so let's explain those major 4 skills and the awakening first. What makes her so good, right? What makes Theia so good? That's probably the question you always ask. So straight away, nice shield. She gives you that 1k shield, and it's a 15% hero skill damage dealt bonus to the Legion that gains that shield. This is very, very key because it's going to obviously come back again when we talk about her awakening. The thing is, when we start talking about her next 3 skills, this is what actually I believe is where a lot of her power does rely in. If you look at just the second skill, you're gonna reduce hero skill damage taken by 15% and give you that 15% attack bonus. This is very, very powerful because this is a Legion based skill, so as long as you field her as a 5/5/1/1 commander, it will work with any Legion in the entire game. However, when we go into this third skill, this is when things become a little bit crazy for the flying based marchers, right? So if you're going to be using flying cavalry or the flying celestial units, which are generally the ones you use mainly with Theia, because some people do try it flying archers, but personally I'm not a fan. They're a little bit more of a paper march. But when we look at this, you're gaining 20% defense bonus, an additional 10% attack bonus, and 20% march speed bonus. That's over 50% worth of stats on top of all of the other stats you've currently gained from this march. On top of all of that, and this is what gets even crazier, whenever you gain a shield, so anytime you gain your skill 1, you are also going to be increasing your maximum attack, going all the way from 10% to 30% extra attack. So this is an insane steroid, as you can imagine, for any Theia Legion. And when you finally awaken her and you get her all awakened 5/5/5, as you can see here, you're basically going to be able to grant your shield to yourself and one other ally. So as you can read here, it does say 2 nearby legions in brackets, including Theia, right? So it's you and one ally, and this is what makes it really, really powerful when we come to the pairings, right? Because when it comes to the pairings with Theia, one pairing I really want to talk about first, which is a all-star in this game, is honestly Theia with Lilia. This combination honestly is running rampant right now if you are a mage player, because what it allowed you to do is run Theia and Lilia and open up the ability to run like Iwaldia, Valen, Toha, and Bertrand March, and your Theia is now allowing you to shield and obviously buff your other 2 mage marches. This is very, very popular and very powerful combination to print a ton of merit while using easily the best mage for PvP currently, right? So that is the very top first pairing I really want to talk about, right? But let's go into these free-to-play ones, right? We've got Atheist. Theia and Atheist, honestly, is the go-to Celestial March from Season 1 all the way through until you unlock the next legendary hero that's gonna be your Bertrand, right? Bertrand and Theia is a direct upgrade once your Theia is obviously in a decent place, and obviously your Bertrand is like a 5-1-5-5 commander, or maybe a 5-5-1-1. It's up to you depending on what your minimal investment is on your Bertrand, but this is a upgrade, right? This is basically your Celestial Flying March, where you get to pair your Theia with either your Bertrand or your Atheist, and this does an insane amount of single target DPS with those Celestial Flying units, right? On top of this, what you can also do with Theia, as you can imagine, Theia with a lot of the mages will work. Theia and Valen is still fine. It's going to do some okay damage. It's still buffing itself up and giving that hero skill damage, and obviously giving it to a ally, and even running stuff like Theia with your main man Alloy for the super free to play players that want an extra march out. This is still okay. It does some decent damage, but it is more of a supportive march. Don't expect it to do wonders in the merit section, right? So those are the main honestly pairings that you're going to be running with Theia, right? So hopefully I've gone over those for you. But when we're going into the artifacts now, the artifacts is pretty the interesting part of her, right? Because when we're going into her artifact choice for that Theia, you've got quite a variety depending on what you want to do with your march, right? So if you're going to be mages, you could run anything. Phoenix Eye, you name it. Tear of Arbon, the Mirage Orb. You could even run Magic Bomb. You can run the brand new Lakeside Rhapsody from the Forge of Light. And obviously, the best in slot 1 is Visage of Sanctus, right? This is a great personal artifact for that Theia March. Whenever you're granting those shields, you're going to get a shield factor. You're going to basically deal a bunch more extra damage because of these mark stacks that you grant and then basically deal to your opponents, right? So very powerful artifact, and it's definitely for flying based units, so that's why it's really powerful as well for your Theia. When it comes to the pet choice, your pet obviously matters on, again, your march type. So if we're still talking about the mages first, anything like the Shadow Phaedric or the Sapphire Phaedric is your obvious go-to choices, because this is going to give you that area of effect pet damage, while obviously your Shadow Phaedric is giving you more single target DPS for stuff like your Atheist and Bertrand, right? So you can switch between which pet you need for your march type, right? But now let's dial it back, because obviously we've gone through the mage stuff there, and we've not talked about Cavalry, right? Because Cavalry is another aspect of Theia, and Cavalry has its own pairings, right? We can run Theia with anyone, with your Bakshi, with your Embrace, and more importantly, with Forendil. With Forendil Theia, you have that full flying Spring Warden, obviously Eagle March. That's going to absolutely decimate opponents. And if you're looking to run Cavalry as your Theia pairings or artifacts, it's pretty simple. Again, we've got quite a variety of choices. In the early game, you might just be using stuff like Kingslayer to try and get those executes. However, what I personally really like with my Cavalry is Solan's Blade. Because 18% extra march speed on top of all the march speed you're going to be needing with cavalry units is going to let you get into combat and get out of combat fast enough. Because that is the one issue with Cavs. They might get in or they might not get in because of how slowed down they get. So no damage gets applied. So it's a very bad thing, right? So those are like your two early game options. But you can imagine as the game progresses, your best, and I think best in choices that you can be picking is either your Spring Blades. This thing is just disgusting as a cavalry artifact, as you can imagine, doing a ton of area of effect damage, and it comes back to you, so you don't even need to be near them when you fire this thing back out. And then on top of all of that, I actually really like the Wolf Woman of Halo. This is going to allow you to actually blink into certain very dangerous zones, unload all of your skills onto those marksmen or onto those mages, and boom, you can teleport straight back. So I really do like this. I prefer the Wolf one of Halo every single time over the Storm Arrows, if you are wondering, and that's why I haven't really mentioned this artifact. When it comes into your fear pets for Cavalry, there's only really, again, two choices depending on what you want to do. If you're running your fear with your Forendil, you will only ever be using the Berserker phase rate because you want to maximize the cowardice trigger from that Forendil to obviously apply it on this Berserker phase rate. It just generates you the most amount of damage for that march. And then if you're not going to be using her with your Forendil, but you're going to be using fear with your Emrys or your Bakshees, if you're going to use it for any other reason with any other cavalry unit, you are always, in my opinion, going to be just using the Golden Rock. This is a nice, simple one. It's going to generate you an extra little bit of rage accumulation speed, which is very good to keep you up with that shield, and it lets you get that hero skill damage bonus on. It's just a really nice pet to have, right, with everything that she does with Cav. So those are all of the artifacts and now the pets for the Cavalry. So that's all we're going to cover, because I know you guys are probably wondering, why not Fear and Craig? And the thing is, Fear and Craig and Fear and Freyga, these are archer marches, and personally, I don't like Wilderberg's archers. I think the Wyvern Riders, the flying archers, shall I say, for Wilderberg are just the worst unit, just hands down, in the game. And they honestly need a little bit of TLC, and I hope the devs buff them, because if they buff them just a nice little bit, just to give them maybe some actual damage, or just sustain a little bit longer, or, you know, march speed even, just something beneficial to that march, maybe I'll change my mind, and I might have to do a bit of a talk on Fear with that Freyga or with that Craig. Right, so with all of that, let's go into the Golden Girl, the Fear's talent pages, and I'm going to give you 2 talent pages to work from today, 1 cavalry tree and 1 mage tree. And welcome to the talent section, right? We're going to go over the cavalry tree first, and this is honestly a very interesting tree, as you're going to see, to use for your flying cavalry units, or your just like cavalry based units with Fear, right? So the way this works is pretty simple. We're going to zoom in and start, honestly, at the bottom. Do the Holy Trinity like always and grab your Transforming Spirit. And then what you're going to do is start in the PvP tree. And what you're going to do is go 5 points into overall attack, march speed, and 5 points into overall health. This is going to give you a nice foundation of stats that you will need as a cavalry player. And what I mean by that is the march speed is super important to get into fights, the attack is super important to deal damage, and obviously the HP here at 5 is super important for your sustain, because you will be taking damage as you're running in to your opponents, right? And on top of that, because we're going to be taking a bunch of damage, and you can imagine this is the obvious choice for me, luck of the draw, because we will be launching counter attacks, reducing any sort of damage, and this is all damage, by 1% and going all the way up to a maximum of 3%, allows our, you know, cavalry units to actually survive and get into the battle with as much HP as they can. And it's going to allow that actual unyielding rush trigger to trigger at 1000 range and obviously deal maximum damage for us. From here, we're going to move up, and this is going to go into a 5 points into, again, overall speed to make us as fast as possible, with into strength. More damage is always what we want when we're playing cavalry, and this is a really great actual talent for Cavs, because we want to go in, defeat an enemy, and get out. And every single time you do that, you're going to restore 300 troops to your march. I think it's a really good, actually underrated sustain tool for cavalry units if they're able to keep getting those kills. From here, you're going to put 5 points into 1 point into your Blessings of Fury. It's going to give you that vigor gain, obviously, when we generate our rage skills. And this is honestly staple. We just want as much HP as possible, because what we're going to do once we've completed those trees is obviously move back down. And what I do is pretty simple. I put my first 5 points afterwards into this overall health, for 2% and then get another 10% march speed. This is going to give us as much march speed as possible, which is 30% across all these 3 trees here. And then on top of this, once we've completed these 10 points, we will then put 5 points into overall health. So in total now we get 2, 4, and as you can imagine, 6% extra HP, which is very, very good for a talent page build, trying to give you as much sustain as possible. And then because you've got 2 points left, I personally believe just putting the 2 points into Fury Flame is the most beneficial because it's giving you the most points per stat. That's 2% more skill damage. Comparatively, if you look up here, this will only give you 1.6, right? Just nothing we care about there. And again, across all of these, we don't really care about any of these stats. So this is the tree that I run on my Theia Wave Cavalry now. It's the brand new tree that I've been working on and been using for quite a while, and I kind of kept it low wraps. You know, I don't want everyone to be using it, but hey ho, it's about time we get all those T4 players with Cavs actually doing some insane damage. So try it out. This is my, like I say, cavalry tree for Theia. This is what you're going to be running if you're going to run like Theia Forindle. It's a very powerful build, very interesting build as well, and it gives you everything you need for Cavs. So now let's move on to the next build, and that's going to be all for mages. And welcome to the mage tree, and it is very, again, different compared to a lot of trees you might be seeing, because I have started to realize a little bit of a secret about the talent page system, and I am going to obviously maybe make a video about it in the future. But when it comes to the actual mage tree, I have found a very powerful tree, which is this one, when I am using like Theia Lilia or Theia with any of my mage-based marches for the open field. And this one is very cool because the way it works is pretty simple. We try to maximize the amount of damage and the amount of sev wounds we don't take, right? So what we go into is the overall tree here, and we're going to be grabbing the HP, the march speed so we can get in and out of combat, and then the 4% extra hero skill damage. Really nice little bit of opening for us. And then on top of this, we want anytime we get hit by an attack, which is quite often nowadays as a mage player, because as a mage guy, you're going to be targeted by the archers with long-range warfare. I'm just going to be honest with you. So you will get spirit response very often. 4 rage every second is nothing to laugh about. Because on top of all of this, as you guys know, we generate a giant amount of buffs from our actual passive skills, our actual hero skill, you know, activating the shield and granting 15% hero skill damage. And because of that, we will put 5 points into Unrelenting Fury first, just to give us that rage generation for our build. We will then put 5 points into Emergency Triage to reduce the amount of sev wounds that we get in combat, which is really, really nice for hospitals. And then to finish this off, 5% less flat damage. Oh yeah, love that. Magic units are taking 5% less hero skill damage. I love this for our mages because, again, you're going to get hit by a ton of area of effect in the open field. So by reducing it just by 5% is quite a lot of damage you're reducing all the time. And then to finish the build, we will be taking Thunder Fury. So whenever we cast our rage skill, our Legion has the chance, or will gain, Keen Shelter, and that's increasing their attack and defense by 4% and 3% for 5 seconds. So you can see this is another buff effect that will grant Unrelenting Fury. So once you've completed all of that tree, you've got obviously your 17 points remaining. And this is what I do with my next 17 points. I actually put my next 5 points into strength to strength just to get it out of the way. This is 1.5% flat extra damage, and you definitely do want this when you're running like Theia and Lilia. This is going to do some insane extra damage for your Lilia March in the deputy slot. And then when we're going into our next ones, it's nice and easy, guys. We've only got 12 points remaining. And for me, I am going to go 5-5 to get the most amount of march speed again to get in and out of combat. And depending on how you feel, if you want a little bit more rage, you could go for head held high. This would generate a tiny bit extra rage that you don't have in your kit. But personally, I think you've got enough rage generation. So why not just get 2% extra flat hero skill damage? So that is going to be my build. And you can see we're not going into any of these because this, honestly, as you can imagine, I've noticed the talent trees in this game has really big debuffs or really big buffs on very long cooldowns, and we don't have time for that when it comes to open field. So it's always better to kind of get just flat stat for stat in the open field meta, right? So this is it. This is gonna be my mage build. Take a look of it, take a snap tree of it, do whatever you like. But this is what I'm gonna be running and what I have been running with my Theia in the mage slot. So once again, this is the mage tree, and then this one is going to be your cavalry tree. So if you want to take a picture of that again, you can do so, right? And that should summarize and finish the entire guide for Theia now. We've gone through all of her talents. I've gone through all of the pairings with mages and the pairings with cavalry. I've gone through the artifacts and pet choices for both of those two units. Obviously, I've missed out the archers. If you want me to do realistically a video for them, maybe I will do a separate video for them. But as of right now, in 2024, if you're using Theia, you're only using Theia with Celestials or the Springwater Spring Eagles. So, until the next guide, and until the next time, guys, you know what to do. Smash that like, comment, and subscribe. And just remember, you can vote for the next hero guide I do on the channel via the community section on my YouTube posts. So, until then, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys. Peace out.